maybe that was just part of the whole shtick, because like that's kind of what they do.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of it was he would do things for me in hopes to win me over. And that just, for me, it was more like it wasn't about the things. It was, like I knew his heart was good. And so I wanted to, like, I try, but I don't like, necessarily being bought either. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that.
Aren't you happy now knowing that nothing happened?
Yes. I mean, and I spoke to him a little bit over text when this first went down with he and Lala. And he said, like, give me some advice. And I was like, I don't know. I think you need to show, like, the good guy that I knew. Because I don't know where that guy is in all of this right now. You need to be showing that side of you and, like, what happened to that side of you. And I don't have any advice. I mean, you fucked up. you stepped in it big. I don't.
So after like that Tennessee and the pictures and all that, and it was like, okay, we're breaking up, and he reached out to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he was reaching out to a lot of people, feeling like maybe it was, just to see if people were even answering him or talking to him. I don't know, because that must be pretty, like, panicky when something really bad goes down like that. I would imagine you would panic, like, who's still going to talk to me and who's not, right?
Yeah. Were you guys, though, in contact at that time, or was this, like, had time gone by where he just reached out to you and said, hey?
A little bit of time had gone by, because this isn't that, they weren't together that long. So, like, when I saw them together and then when he reached out, in our whole, like, lifetime of friendship, it's not that long, but, you know, yeah, it was a couple years.
Wow. I find that interesting.
Oh, he had reached out to me, too, when he signed on to do the show. So there was that. He did say, I'm going to go and I'm going to be on the show. I can't believe it. Da, da, da. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. Good luck. I love that show. And, cut to.
Interesting. And, I mean, when you ran into Lala and Randall and you were watching Vanderpump Rules and you're now like, wait a second. Like,
yeah.
The girl that I'm watching on the TV that has the sugar daddy that none of us know about, you're like, oh my God, did you want to like run and tell people?
Well, I did. I froze, first of all, when he goes, I want you to meet Lala. And she turned around and I was like, it was one of those moments where I was like, you've got to be kidding. Like, everything stopped for a second. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then because I felt like, I had some loyalty as a friend, I wasn't going to say anything or tell anybody. And,
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Right, because, I mean, what are the chances?
I didn't have a podcast then.
And what are the chances that, Nicole Eggert from Baywatch and Charles in Charge is actually watching Vanderpump Rules? Like, did he know that you watched the show and would know who? Because a lot of people think, wouldn't know who Lala was.
I don't know if he...
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he put those things together or if he just was like, oh, hey, good friend, you meet each other. But, yeah, I was watching. And everybody's watching.
Everybody's watching. And so when this all went down and he just, and the whole thing, and she was dumping him and saying, and now I'm discovering all these skeletons, were you shocked? I mean, like, you must have been like, okay, this is a thing. It's in all the blogs, and now he's reaching out to me for advice. That's kind of... Well,
and it was in the very beginning of it, so I didn't know exactly, like... There wasn't all the proof. There was like her gut feeling, and she was leaving. And I don't think she had quite moved out yet. I think it was like right in the beginning of that.
Wow.
But then I think once she got all those like DMs and she really got all the proof she needed, I think there was no help me. There was no like give me advice. There was no coming back from that.
And what did you say to him? Just like show the good side.
Yeah, I mean, I said, I don't know. Well, where's that guy? Where's like the good guy that I know?
Listen, my experience, because Randall's been on this podcast twice. I mean, that's how I got involved in the Randall scandal. They reached out to me because they're like, you've interviewed Lala many times. You've interviewed him. And I also interviewed Amber Childers, just all unrelated, his first wife, just because she was an actress. She was in You. I love the show You. So they were like, we just, and then, also I do commentary. This is what I do for a living. So it's just all a perfect storm of like, we need you to be in this. I'm like, fine. But I really saw, a great side of him for my own personal interactions, which now it's like, I don't know. Because, I mean, I did have a strange situation with him myself, right? Like, now that you know what you know, I did have a situation where I'm like, I knew he was lying to me about something. I've already talked about it on air. It's not like I'm trying to hide it. It's a whole story. But I was like, oh, so it all just, it's kind of like it made sense. But right, like I was charmed in a way too by him. So I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right about the whole narcissist thing, and guys who are maybe like abusive or, you know, in some way, they have a very like friendly, loving side, and then a very like, you know, horrible side.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like making up for. I don't know. I'm no psychiatrist, but there's something to it.
So you gave him the advice. Now we see all this other stuff has come out. Like, have you heard from him anytime recent?
No, I mean. What is there to say? It's like
I was gonna say I wonder if he's gonna still try to like go through his people and like still like just the people in his past and like eventually you'll hear from him again.
I don't know. I mean, what I did hear is that he was engaged and maybe he's just trying to, you know, stay in that world where he probably feels a little bit more safe. I don't know.
Would you respond if he reached out to you again?
I know, it depends on what he was saying. You know, it would have to depend on what he was saying or asking. But, you know, and we still really don't know everything, right? Like this is still under people's eye and still being revealed. So it's like I'd rather stay out of it until we really know what we're dealing with.
Right. Like there's a lot of, you know, things that are like serious.
Legal, right? There's like legal stuff. So I'll just stay.
When you start children and these things, I mean, that came up in the thing. Some of the things of watching that documentary didn't really show, you know, like, okay, the assistants, there were some egregious things, but then, I mean, I had a friend call me and she's like, but doesn't every heavy Hollywood, I'm like, kind of.
I know, it's not unusual.
Yeah. Right. It was like a mixed bag. I mean, there's a lot there. I'm not justifying a lot of it.
No, but that's true.
But interesting. Okay. I didn't realize all of this. I didn't, you know, that he reached out to you. How did you end up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, taking a walk with Kim Kardashian?
So we were doing a campaign together for Quick Trim, that like diet pill thing. And so, so that was sort of a photo op thing.
Yeah.
So we were doing that because Scott Disick and my manager at the time, David Weintraub, was they put the deal together, and so they're like, you and Kim should get together, and you guys' campaign's going to come out at the same time, and la 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 la. So.
I mean, listen, we all know Keeping Up with the Kardashians is scripted reality TV. So, I mean, it just was one of those. I mean, did you interact? I mean, I saw the show. Like, did you interact, or it really was just like this short scene? Or
well, I went up. I met her at Reggie Bush's house at the time, and she's she's really sweet. I really like her a lot. You know, I'm a fan, and meeting her and hanging out with her for a little bit on a personal level, I like the lady, and she was saying in his house was very like bachelor pad, like, you know, when you could just look around and you, like the smell, the look, and she's like, please don't judge me on this house. This is not my house. This is his house. And so we kind of laughed, and, you know, and she was just so real. And we were walking, we were talking, and she's like talking about needing to get her extensions redone and everything, you know, just like no shame, so real. And you know, I like that. It's rare.
People have everyone I know has great things to say about the Kardashians, and especially Kim, and that she's a worker and she takes things seriously. So I mean, it's all I honestly have only heard great things.
Yeah, I don't think you make it that far without being, you know. Listen, yeah, some people make it and they're horrible, but it always comes to light. But I think there's a reason why she has the longevity that she has and the success that she has.
I literally forgot you were on that show until I started preparing for this, and I'm like, oh my God, how could I forget this? This is, I mean, it's become, look, they are other than the royal family, the most famous family in the world. Like,
yeah.
We have millionaires and billionaires, and I mean, the show is going on in its second incarnation, and I mean, this is a real thing now.
Yeah, and
right?
I like it. I like the new show. I like the new twist on it. It's flashy. I love to look for the cars that they're driving, you know, what they're wearing, and just and I think it's become more and more scripted, obviously, but it's like this flash factor that I like it.
It's good.
It is good.
Do you watch, I mean, like, how deep into Bravo are you? Like, do you watch New Jersey? You do?
Yeah.
So what do you think of New Jersey Housewives? I mean, you know, rumor is, I mean, they're
back,
filming.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I spent the entire season talking about how Melissa was being fired and Margaret was being fired, and because I make my predictions and I'm often right, Nicole, but you know what? Sometimes I am wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. I mean, I was convinced Melissa was going. Convinced.
I had a fear that she was gonna be, although I kind of, in all honesty, side with her. And I'm tired of this fighting. I'm just tired of it. Like, your lives are good, knock it off. Just get along. Stay on the other side of the room or something. But the constant is just, I think everybody is sick of it. So it's interesting to see what they're gonna do and how they're gonna handle it, because and Melissa wasn't taking that shit anymore. She was kind of finally putting her foot down, and I think that's got to be hard. That's got to be so hard.
I think she had her best season. So, that reunion, she brought it. I'm like, this is the Melissa we've been waiting to see.
Yeah.
And I think she's done taking it. So it could be a great season, maybe.
Right. Yes.
Right?
I mean, let's hope. Yeah, I got my fingers crossed, because I wouldn't, as much as Teresa, I just think she's so out of line all the time. I still want her on the show. Right? I still want to watch her, of course. So, I was so oh, God, one of them are going to go. They're going to break this up. It was kind of devastating.
It sounds like you're Team Melissa over Team Teresa.
I am. I truly am. Just because I side with level-headedness, I just feel like Melissa is really bit the bullet a lot to save face and just be quiet and just try to, I feel like she absorbed so much. And Teresa, I just so many times I don't understand where she's going on about. She's so wrong so many times that I just, but that's what makes it fun.
It's so, honestly, it's so 50-50. There's so many, so it's
right. And then you don't know what's going on, right?
Right.
You don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and